Hi, this is Nanette Hosenfeld with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Wednesday, July 28th, 2021. Looking at fire potential impacts over the next few days, we are looking at a few more days of mostly wet thunderstorms across much of the Great Basin. You can see how through Friday that area of storms does expand in coverage across the area. There is potential for a mix of wet and dry storms over western Idaho this afternoon. This is looking at the afternoon near surface forecast. The good news is that it does look like smoke conditions should improve into tomorrow. We are seeing some visibility reductions across airports in central Nevada and southwestern Idaho this morning with that smoke in place. Looking at the afternoon upper level smoke forecast, again you can see improvement is expected into tomorrow afternoon. However, today we will see thicker smoke across portions of southern and central Idaho and portions of Nevada. Over the past 24 hours, we did see quite a bit of storm activity. Overnight, we did see quite a few storms across southern Idaho and northern Nevada. Most of these storms were wet with some pretty impressive precipitation totals from those storms. We have continued to pick up some new starts across the Great Basin despite the moisture that we've seen. Looking at the observed precipitation over the past 7 and 30 days, it's really been quite wet across the central and southern part of the Great Basin. Some areas receiving between 1.5 and 2.5 inches of precipitation across the southern part of the Great Basin. The past 7 days, we've continued to see wetter storms across the central and southern part of the Great Basin. This image doesn't include what fell yesterday, and so yesterday we did see some wetter storms across northern Nevada and southern Idaho. The ERCs have responded to the moist conditions across the south. You can see a large area of ERCs below the 50th and 70th percentile across the southern part of the Great Basin, but that's dramatically different further north where conditions have been hotter and drier. The ERC trend lines show that as well. GB2, which is our central Idaho mountain zone, is up near record values due to the heat and the drier conditions further north. However, across the south in the central Utah mountains, ERCs have really plummeted. They went from record high levels at the end of June into early July and are now down well below what we would typically see this time of year. Satellite this morning shows quite a bit of clouds across the Great Basin. That is indicative of the deep moisture that we have in place. For today, you can see from the image on the left quite a bit of moisture in place across the Great Basin. We do have a high risk out for one of our central Idaho mountain zones, as that is the area that's most likely to see that combination of drier fuels and the potential for a mix of wet and dry storms. Looking at the surface forecast for this afternoon, you can see quite a bit of storm activity is expected today. The majority of those storms will be a mix of wet and dry. Again, the main concern would be across a small portion of the central Idaho mountains where storms may trend drier. As we move into Thursday, we're still keeping that moisture in place across the Great Basin. With a prolonged period of monsoonal moisture that we've seen across the area, all but one of our zones is either green or yellow, so a pretty significant change with that long duration monsoonal surge that we have seen. Looking at Thursday in more detail, again, really wide coverage of those thunderstorms. The majority of those will be accompanied by wetting rain. And then moving into Friday, we continue to see moisture in place across the Great Basin. We're looking at another moisture surge later this week up into the northern and western portions of the Great Basin. Looking at that lightning coverage on Friday, the majority or the greatest coverage will be across the northern and central part of the Great Basin. And again, most of these storms will be accompanied by wetting rain. Over the next 3 days, it's interesting to look at our minimum relative humidity values. Even areas that aren't going to see wetting rain will see some pretty high relative humidity values. So you can see by Friday afternoon, just the minimum relative humidity, the afternoon relative humidity will be above 30% across a large portion of the Great Basin. The exception to that is across northwestern Nevada and northern and southwestern Idaho. So even areas that don't see wetting rain will see really good overnight recoveries, and that will definitely make a big big impact on the fuels. Over the next 3 days, really things are looking quite wet. Looking at storm coverage across almost the entire Great Basin, and most of those storms accompanied by wetting rain. So moving to Saturday, still keeping that moisture in place across the Great Basin. By Saturday, that one holdout zone in the central Idaho mountains that was brown has now gone to yellow. And moving into Sunday, looking at some drier air begin to move into the Great Basin from the west, shifting that moisture to the east. And then moving into Monday, looking at a drying trend beginning across the western part of the Great Basin into early next week. That continues into Tuesday with that drier air across the western part of our area. And you can see those zones switching to yellow after a couple of days of drier conditions early next week. Finally, in the 7-day period, just really looking at impressive precipitation totals. The entire area is expected to see wetting rain over the next 7 days. Finally, the 8 to 14-day period, the Climate Prediction Center is hinting that we will move into a hotter and drier period. Looks like the long period of wetter conditions that we've seen could be coming to an end. And that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Our information is on the screen, and you can also find us on Twitter. Thanks.